Hey friends, Sandy Fernandez here, president and founder of Karmic Currency. And today I have the amazing pleasure to bring my lovely hustling friend, GiGi Diaz, who is a mindset coach and business coach. She has her company called Seizing Happy. Some of you who are here in Miami and even outside Miami may know GiGi. She is a radio personality, the most dynamic, and she is also an entrepreneur. So GiGi and I are very excited to talk today a little bit about being happy, but being overwhelmed, right?
Yes.
Very excited about.
Happy and overwhelmed. Sandy, thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. And I got to tell you, I love chatting with you because I feel like every time we get on a conversation, we could just go on and on for days.
We
And
do.
it's been my experience when I had you on my podcast. It's been the experience when we've been to each other's events. And now I feel like it's funny because before we started recording, you're like, we have to keep an eye on the clock. Otherwise, we're just going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever. But that's good. I love that we could just talk forever.
We do. And we're always very good about measuring our time because we just go off on these deep rants, because since you and I are very similar, in seizing opportunities, seizing happy, we're, similar concepts with our business, and there's so much complementary and obviously similar backgrounds, similar cultures. So it's very easy to get, caught up in the rapture with you.
Absolutely. So I know that one of the things that everyone is experiencing right now is the overwhelm of adjusting to what we're all calling this new normal.
Yes.
And so this new normal for a lot of people is you are now taking care of your kids 100% of the time. And 24 hours a day is a long time to have children in your responsibility. It's why we're so grateful to teachers who take them for half the day, right? And then for a lot of moms, you're happy to be able to spend more time with your kids, but you're also now having to be their teacher, which is
Right.
an overwhelming amount of responsibility. And then on top of that, whereas it was difficult before to think of what to cook for dinner every night, if you're that kind of mom that wants to make dinner every night, now you've got to make breakfast, lunch, and dinner all day long.
Hold on.
That's your child.
Yeah, that's my doggy baby. Hold on, let me mute this a second. Go, keep chatting. I'm gonna scream.
Yeah. And so it's okay because they edit it anyways.
Yeah.
And so now these moms that are so grateful to be able to spend more time with their children are also having to be their teachers. And that in and of itself is overwhelming, right? So it's kind of a mixed emotion and a mixed balance of, I'm so happy to have more time with my kids, but I'm also overwhelmed that I have to cook all 3 meals because we're stuck at home all day and I have to be their teacher. And somehow my boss wants me to be available 24 hours because we're working from home, right? So that means you're available all day long. You have nowhere to go. You have nowhere to be. That should not be the case. And so it's really important that we learn to set boundaries, that we learn to separate work time from mom time, from teacher time. And it may feel like, well, how am I going to have that kind of structure in my home? Girl, you're a boss. You are in charge of your home. You decide what does and what does not happen in that home, right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. I agreed. But you know what I think, GiGi, that a lot of the problem that women have is that we tend to want to be Wonder Woman all the time.
Oh yeah.
And I know that for me, I'm like a superhero all day. And my kids are big now, so I don't have that incessant, mommy. But they still want to eat, you know what I'm saying? So they still wake up and they're like, what are you making for dinner? So I just have to go through that. But it's very important that even though we tend to want to do everything all the time, we really need to give ourselves a break. And like you're saying, really be able to just kind of measure that time and say, okay, from this time to this time, maybe creating a schedule and telling yourself at this time, this is done. Like the kitchen is closed. Once I cook, if you guys don't want to eat, that's fine. But once I'm done cooking, I do the dishes and that stuff is put away, you're on your own. I'm not going back in there.
Absolutely. So and I feel like it's also important. Yes. And I feel like it's also important to create those boundaries with your bosses and your managers, because it's easy for your bosses and managers to call you up or to text you or to whatever, because everyone's kind of disorganized right now. Mm-hmm. But it's important to very professionally and very kindly tell your boss, I am so happy to be able to help you with this, and I will definitely get to this at 9 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm having dinner with my family, or right now, I wrapped everything up around 5, since that's the usual time we tend to wrap up when we're in the office, and I'm taking care of my kids' homework. I'm going to get to this, boss, first thing tomorrow morning.
Yep.
That's a polite way of communicating. Don't call me after 5 o'clock, because you wouldn't have called me after 5 o'clock if we weren't working from home. Of
true.
course, there are exceptions. There are people that are working from home right now that would be getting called at any hour, because that's just the kind of job that they have. Mm-hmm. Or if in your working from home, you have taken on additional responsibilities, there are exceptions to every case. Right. But if your particular job and responsibilities are the type that, at 5 o'clock, your boss wouldn't have called you if you weren't working from home, there are ways to politely and professionally create those boundaries, because I find that it is even more overwhelming when you're working from home and you're getting those calls. It feels almost like you feel guilty to say, well, I can't do that right now. Mm-hmm. This is not my, this is not work time. This is family time.
Right.
But the truth is that, and mark me if I'm wrong, most of the moms that are working, when their kids are coming to them and their kids need something, they're not telling their kids, hey, I can't help you right now. I can't mom you right now. I'm working. No, they're stopping their work to go be with their kids. So it kind of all gets mumbo jumbo together.
Yes.
So, it should be, it's important to be able to create boundaries, to teach your children, listen, when mommy's working, if it's not urgent, you need to wait. But, when I'm done working, if usually my time is 5 o'clock, boss, I'm going to make sure I get to this first thing tomorrow morning. I'm happy to help. I got your back with this, but right now I wrapped everything up already, since we usually tend to wrap up around this time, and I'm making dinner with my family. Those words are magical, because your boss has a family too, and he wants to be fed by his wife, or maybe he's cooking for his family. And so to be able to create those boundaries is really powerful and really important. And something else that I've learned that is helpful is to make sure that you build your workspace in your home. Correct. So don't work everywhere. Designate a little piece of your dinner table, if your dinner table's big enough, or get one of those little foldable tables, and that's your working space. When you're there, you're working. When you leave there as though you had left your office, right. And don't work everywhere. That way you can still respect the spaces in your home to have value. And so when you're working, you're there, and when you're not, to physically remove yourself from that space has a mental disconnect as well. So that, I feel, is a good tip.
No, I agree. And I think what's interesting too, with everything that you're saying, and now as you're saying it, it's made me think about this. When I do my types of coaching, which is truly money mindset coaching, and, helping people understand where their limiting beliefs are when it comes to money, it's very interesting, because right now we may feel, inside a little bit of guilt and a little bit of resistance, because we may not feel that we're working hard enough. Because since we are working from home, normally if you were working in a corporate office, you're not getting up every 10 or 15 minutes to go make a sandwich, to go check on the kids. Why are you guys fighting? Why are you screaming? Like right now, my boyfriend walked by. I'm like, my kid is in the sink. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I said to, that I'm recording, like, respect me, So those are all types of timeout things that normally would count maybe as a break. And you're taking all these sporadic little breaks. So maybe you feel that you're not truly contributing or working those full 8 hours that you should have been putting in. So there's a lot of worth that kind of comes through with that may make it difficult for someone to set that boundary, to tell your boss, listen, at 5, I can't, because you feel guilty, because you knew that maybe in the middle of the day today, maybe you have a 2-year-old at home or a 3-year-old and had the major temper tantrum, and you had to sit for an hour in their room and calm them down and get them to go to sleep so that you can go to work. So that's a big, big struggle that a lot of mompreneurs mostly, and even dads, a lot of the dads are home now too, which is mind-blowing for a lot of dads. They're like, holy crap, what's going on in here?
Is this how it usually is? Yes.
Yeah, they're like, what's wrong with these kids? And you're like, no, they're like that all the time. You're just not here to see.
Absolutely. I think you said a word that's really powerful too. And it's something that I talk about in my coaching, which is mindset coaching. And that is resistance. Mm-hmm. We have a tendency to resist things that we don't know or understand. And in that resistance is where we're held back. So right now, something that can also bring a lot of peace to the overwhelm is to try to let go of the resistance of that this is what it is. Accepting that this is what it is, that you
Right.
cannot leave your house, that it's going to be crazy, that it's not going to be perfect, that the structure is not going to be, in a perfect little box. Letting go of that, stopping to resist this change is what's going to bring you peace. Accepting that, what, I'm not going to work 8 hours straight. I'm going to have to take more breaks because my kids need me, because I have to take care of other things around the house, is okay.
Yeah.
So when you resist this change, all you're doing is putting more pressure on yourself, because the truth is that no matter how much you resist this change, this is it.
Yeah.
We're going to not be able to go out and have a drink with our girlfriends. We're confined to, I haven't left my house in like 4 days, and I'm going insane because I'm used to being out all the time.
No,
but
and that's nothing. A lot of people have started to quarantine now. I've been on quarantine since March 17th. So I'm on like 20 something days. Listen, my excitement is going to, the supermarket to buy groceries. And the other day I went on an adventure to, the dollar store, or maybe the drive-through Starbucks. I walk the dog, obviously, but outside of that, it's home. My kids have taken over my living room. Like the PS4 is taken over. Normally on a regular day, that's not the case. But now it's, like I said, it's the new normal. It's letting go of what we once thought was our reality and accepting that this is a process of change, and change is good.
And exactly. And change is good, because if we only focus on the negative parts of the difference between what was and what is now, you can't find happiness in this. So look at what's positive and what's different. Okay. And just let go of, I used to be able to do this all the time. I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to go here and go there. And it was so much easier before when I could blah, blah, blah. Let go of that entire thought process and find what's good now. Yeah. What's good now is, hey, maybe you can sleep an extra 20 minutes in the morning because you don't have to drive for 45 minutes. What's good now is you can have coffee with your significant other every single morning, whereas before you had to grab it in a drive-thru and run with it and spill half of it on your lap before you even got to work, and focus on the fact that, sure, my kids are driving me nuts while I'm working, but I get to spend more time with them. Find whatever it is that is positive for you and focus on that. And let go of the negative parts of the difference in this new setting and in this new normal for all of us, because ultimately it's living in gratitude that's going to bring greatness to your life. So find something to be grateful for each day in this new normal, to bring you more calm, to bring you more peace, and to let go of what you can't change anyway, because we're going to stay quarantined for a long time to come regardless. So you have the choice of deciding to live in this quarantine in a beautiful state, in a happier state, or deciding to stay in this quarantine, which, we don't decide when it's going to end, in a very stressful, very resentful state of mind. You decide. You're in charge.
I agree 100%. And essentially that is what seizing happy is taking the moments, even the most difficult moments, and turning them into, how can we make this positive? How can we make this better? How can I see the best in this situation? It's truly finding the silver lining behind every dark cloud. For me, it's been, honestly, I've been waking up earlier now than ever. I don't even know why. And now I wake up in the morning and I'm actually enjoying waking up to hearing the little birds chirping outside my window before the sun even comes up. I have some bird. I don't even know what kind of bird it is, but I hear him chirping every morning and I'm like, oh, hi, good morning. I'm like, it's almost time to wake up. And I'm starting to really enjoy that. I live here on the beach, so hearing the palm trees and hearing, just the sounds of the wind, and it's so quiet. There's no cars, there's no honking, there's no car alarms, there's no hearing, the bus, picking up the kids and the mom screaming, hey, you forgot your book bag, and, the car's honking. It is so peaceful. But I wanted to share, which we did kind of mention about, because I know that you're always online, you're social media influencer, and we both are always online liking each other and looking at everything that we're posting. But I wanted to kind of chat a little bit about this meme or this quote that's kind of going around, and everybody is almost like this weird 50-50 split with it. So the quote says, if when this quarantine is over, you don't develop a new skill, start a side hustle, or come out with more knowledge, time was never your problem. Discipline was. So for you and I, we're hustlers. We're in this to win this. We're like, how do we monetize and how do we capitalize and how can we still maintain our businesses successful during this time? And we're doing so much stuff. So really the quarantine for us was no different. We're still on our hustle. But for a lot of people, they're out there and they're like, no, this is not, this is a trauma. This is a traumatic experience. And you need to be kind to yourself. You need to relax, and surrender to this need to produce and do things. So what is your take on it? Kind of, what do you think? What have you heard? What have you seen across your feed?
So I have seen a lot of the mixed comments as well. I've seen a lot. I've actually seen that exact meme with the bottom of it scratched out and saying, if you didn't come out of this with a hustle, with this or that, that's fine. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's important for everyone to always, with everything that you read and with everything that you see, to ask yourself what you think about it. Mm-hmm. And to stop and say, does this serve me? Because I personally, on a personal level, I agree with that meme for me. Mm-hmm. I have done so much for my business in this time. I actually launched another side hustle in addition to my current business in this time. And I am happy with it. And that makes me feel satisfied. And that helps me to sleep at night because it keeps me busy. It keeps me off the news. Unless I have to be. So when I'm not broadcasting and I'm not on air, I'm not watching the news. I'm not watching that number go up constantly. That stresses me out. So for me, that meme works. I'm reading more. I'm doing more. I'm studying more. I'm taking a course. I like that. I like to be busy. So that meme serves me. However, I have a lot of clients right now that are overwhelmed and they feel like, I don't know where to start a business. I don't want a side hustle. I've never wanted one. What do you mean I have to start a side hustle? What do you mean I have to read more books? And they feel suffocated by memes like that. And to people that feel that way, I want you to know that that's okay. And you don't have to have a side hustle and you don't have to launch a business and you don't have to come out of this in any other way. What I do think that is valuable in that meme is the last thing that it says is, if you don't come out with more knowledge, then your problem wasn't the time, your problem was discipline. I do want to focus a little bit on that last line because while I don't think that there was a problem with the way that people that feel overwhelmed by this meme were living their lives before, if you were happy in your corporate job and never thought of opening a side hustle because you never wanted to be an entrepreneur, there's nothing wrong with that. Corporate America needs employees and people like to be able to be at a job where they can go in, work from 9 to 5 and leave and not think about it again. There's nothing wrong with that.
I almost kind of miss that sometimes for myself from entrepreneur. Yes,
I'm like, I get it.
Remember.
I get it. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with living that way. But I do think that for those people that have never wanted a side hustle and don't want to pick up a hobby, that they're good, they like the hobbies that they already have and they see this meme and they feel like they're not doing enough, just focus on the last part of that meme that says more knowledge. Use this as an opportunity for you not to read more books, not to start a course or to go back to school, any of that, but to learn about you. Sit with you, to know you better. Don't start a side hustle. Don't do any of that stuff if that ain't you.
Yep.
But I do think that it's important at this time to, whatever little bit of time you do have, maybe spend an extra 5 minutes away from your phone and away from your computer and away from your TV. Maybe spend an extra 5 minutes, sitting in your porch and just listening to that little bird and listening to the wind rustle with the trees and see how it feels to look at, maybe you have some flowers outside your house. Stop and take a look at them. Spend just 5 more minutes of your day in mindful company of yourself. I'm going to say that one more time. Spend 5 minutes of your day in mindful company of yourself. Only you. You and the quiet, you and the wind, you and the trees, you and the little flower. Watch the little lizard and see where it goes. Look at the ant trail. Find out where they're coming from. Follow them with your eyes. because that I do think is something that everybody needs, because the hustlers like you and me don't do that often.
No.
The amazing people in corporate America that are making corporate America run also don't do that often.
It's
The
true.
moms of 1 child or 2 children or 5 children or their husband's children, you know, don't do that either.
Mm-hmm.
So while I do think that in this time, there shouldn't be any pressure to produce, there shouldn't be any pressure to rest either, because I actually feel the pressure when I see the memes that are like, oh, take this time to sit around and rest and be, I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. That ain't me. I don't like sitting around. My resting comes from in the morning. I drink my coffee in peace. I sit outside for a little while, and then I binge TV at night. That's my resting. That's about all the resting I can do. Otherwise, I feel unhealthy. I feel like I'm losing my mind because my mind needs more activeness. I'm different.
No,
So
I agree.
don't give in to the pressure of resting, and don't give in to the pressure of overproducing. Find your middle ground and find what works for you. But I do think that everyone, no matter what side of that meme you're on, needs to have more time of mindful company of themselves, because we all run around all the time too much.
I agree.
So spending 5 more minutes of your day in silence and see what comes up. There's always something in your heart and in your mind that's going to come up if you just give yourself time to listen to your higher self, to listen to the message that God's bringing to you, to listen to nothing. Trust me, there's always going to be something beautiful and powerful in your heart that you're going to learn and that you're going to pick up. And that goes for both sides of that meme. So I think that no pressure, but just spend a little bit more mindful time.
I agree. And I love that, you know, what you said, kind of that emphasis on the knowledge. And like you said, knowledge doesn't have to come, like you said, from, you know, signing up for an online course, or, you know, going to take a continuing education course, or, you know, content creation. Knowledge is often within us, and knowledge of self and self-awareness. And what's beautiful, and I know that there's a different meme going around too that somebody wrote, which was very beautiful, about thanking the coronavirus for ultimately what they've done, which is really give everyone the ability to just reset. It's essentially a planetary, you know, vacation. Everybody needs to, you know, everybody night. Everybody's time out right now. Everybody go to your corner, go to your room, and think about what you've done, you know? So it's a really beautiful moment for us to truly, like you said, whether you are developing or hustling, because even in the hustle, we have to think about how we're going to execute this hustle. And a lot of times the most amazing ideas come to us when we're the most still. This is why most creators and most geniuses and people who come up with the most brilliant ideas come up with these things, and I hate to say it, but in the shower or on the toilet. Why? Because maybe not necessarily on the toilet, because now we have our phone anymore, but most of the time in the shower, because it's a time where you're silent. The phone is not in there. The TV is not in there. And you're really in that time where you're just kind of washing your hair, you're brushing your teeth. I brush my teeth in the shower. You know, you're exfoliating your skin, and, you know, your mind, and it takes a few minutes too for your mind to like shut off. Because when you get in the shower, depending when, you're either winding down for the day or you're revving up for the day. So it takes a little bit of time as well for your mind to actually say, oh, look at this baby. He looks like my dog. He's the same colors though.
Yeah.
He's so cute. So
she doesn't let me work either.
No, this one is so great. He lets me work, but obviously sometimes he hears noise, and what are you gonna do? This is our new normal.
She's so needy. If I'm not petting her, or like if she sees I'm giving anything else my attention, she'll come up and she'll just be like, "Mommy, what are you doing? What are you doing, Mommy?"
Let me tell you, and it's funny that you put your baby up there, because I feel that I've probably had more connection right now with my dog in helping me with anxiety. The other day, this was a couple of weeks ago when we first did like the shutdown, and they were like, okay, everybody home, and the quarantine. I had such like just a really, really heavy day. I mean, I literally had pain in my chest. Like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't sit still. Wow. And I'm not a person who suffers from anxiety. Like I handle stress very, very well. So if for me to tell you that I was having anxiety, like this has got to be a real thing. Like I don't get like that. Angry, I get angry, but anxiety, never. And my dog came, and he just like started nudging me, and then he started like smelling like my chest and like smelling my neck in really weird places. And I'm like, you know what? He must sense
Oh
that
yeah.
heart rate is up and that energetically, because animals, they understand, but they speak also vibration, they speak movement, they
Yep.
know, how our energy is, and our sense, like our pheromones. So it was
Absolutely.
wonderful too to spend more time with, with my dog, and just, most times too, he's taking a nap. He had a bath today, so he's tired. I bathed
Oh, lucky
today.
dog. No,
Yeah.
mine needs a bath too. Well, Leah's the same way. She knows, like, when I'm having a really stressful day, she's very calm. She's like, nope, mommy's not having it. And she'll just come hang out. But like today I had a good day. I was smooth. My energy was up, and technology wasn't working against me. And she was like, mommy, let's go outside. Let's go play. Let's go. I'm like, stop. She brings me her toys to play with her. And like, she makes whenever she wants to go run around outside, she comes up to me and she starts going, oh, oh, oh. So she's good. Yeah, they definitely do pick up on our energy. I
They
agree.
do. They do. Hey, so really quick, because I know that, we don't have too much time, because you and I just chatterbox. She's so cute. Talking about adjusting to new normal, I know that on your Instagram, you have posted little snippets of your new dining room area with all your DJ equipment and all of your, new Gigi's House recording studio. So I would just be really fascinated, like, how are you adjusting to this? Because I know that we talked about this the other night. We spoke really late on the phone, and I know that you kind of mentioned to that it's harder. You don't have all the technology of being inside of the studio. And for those of you who are not familiar, with a radio station or what a studio looks like, I mean, your studio it's a monster space. There's
Yeah.
sound engineers, there's all these lights and buttons, so I don't even know what half
Yes.
these things are called, and cue and intros, and you're
Everything.
you're amazing at this. Um,
Thank you.
how are
Thank
you
you.
adjusting to this, like, at home? Because this is literally bringing your work home. This is not like a laptop. This is like equipment that you're
Yes. I have to be honest with you. It has been challenging for me because, you know, I have good equipment. I have a great microphone. I have, my computer's good, my connection's good, but it's not the same. And I'm a perfectionist. I like for every break, I want every single time that I go on air to sound like I'm in the studio, because I feel like my listeners deserve that. Even though my listeners know I'm in my living room,
bringing.
I want it always to be perfect. And I've struggled with that because, again, we have to let go of what was and accept that it's, this is the new normal and it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. And the listeners know I'm in my living room. My listeners follow me like how you do, and they
Yes.
support me the way you do. And I'm showing you I'm in my tiny little living room doing this. But it has been a challenge because I do, I'm on air in multiple stations.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to deliver quality sound to multiple stations, I'm in West Palm Beach, I'm in California, I am in Miami, so it's a lot. And it's been a little bit it's been a little challenging because the technology is not always on your side when it comes to stuff like this. And like you said, it's an enormous difference between being in a studio and being in a living room it's not built to be a radio studio, so that has been a little challenging. And then the other side of it has been, I do a lot of production. I do a lot of videos for Seizing Happy. I do a lot of content creation, and I love to do that outside because I like to have natural light, and I feel like I communicate better when I'm energized by the sun, and I love it. And now we can't go anywhere. So that's been a challenge too. But again, I definitely am that person that I practice what I preach. So when I find myself getting overwhelmed because it's not perfect, when I find myself thinking like, oh my gosh, this would be so much easier if I was in the studio, every time I catch myself in one of those thoughts, I stop and I tell myself, you know what? It would be easier if I was in the studio. And yes, it does kind of suck that I have to do this, in a makeshift studio right now with, my computer is right now sitting on top of I don't even know what goes in this box. So I don't know what's in this box that my computer is on, but it's on a random box that I found somewhere over there.
Mine is on top of 3 reams of paper.
There you go. So I stop and I tell myself, you know what? Right now you have a choice. You can either, bitch and moan about how much easier it would be, or you can use this opportunity to rise up and shine and do the best you can with what you've got. I choose that. I choose to shine. I choose to, you know, rise above the difficulty and remind myself that it doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be done. And I remind myself that it doesn't need to be flawless. It needs to be from the heart.
Right.
And I remind myself that it doesn't need to be at the quality that it was when I was in a studio, because my followers know that I'm still coming at you with my entire heart, with my entire energy, and in the most authentic way that I can. And they're living through this with me, and I'm living through it with them. And they know, and you know, and what's important to me is to continue to show up at my 100%. And right now, my 100% is with my computer on a box with whatever is in that, and in my little living room with an imperfect, you know, delivery, because my living room is my living room. It's not a radio station. So I just stop and show up.
Amazing. So one last question. What have you had yet? Any faux pas while recording live? Are you able to go live, or is everything pre-recorded and kind of pre-scheduled? Because like I said, you know, today I'm recording, and even though I told everybody to stop moving around, they still seem to be moving around over here. So, you know, what has this, you know, have you encountered this yet? Like the dog will start barking, and all of a sudden your mom walks in and she's like, "Gigi," and you're like,
all the things.
like
all the things, yes. My dog barking. My dog has this cadenita. So, you know, I can't keep her from moving. She's not a person I can communicate with and tell her stop moving, nor would she, even if she was a person. So yes, I've had her run around. I have my TV on because I watch the news all day. When I'm on air, I watch the news. When I'm off air, I turn everything off. But when I'm on air, I watch the news. The news has commercials, and she doesn't like other dogs in her living room. So every single time there's a commercial with a dog or a cat or a cow or any other animal, she starts barking. And yes, that has come into my on air as well. And I do my podcast too. And I've had, you know, you know, when you do all of this as well. And so, you know, there's times when you're like on a roll and you're like really in it and you're like explaining something and you're there and she goes, "Arr!" And I'm like, I was jiving. What are you doing? And
you're messing with my flow.
You're messing with my flow, Leah. I've had all the things. I've had my fiance walk into the shot when I'm doing a video. You know, it's all good. It's real life. This is real life.
Yes.
This is what happens, and it's fine.
Really exciting. I'm excited. I really am excited about this new normal. And obviously, like you and I, eternal optimists, obviously your business is seizing happy. So always looking for the bright side. And I think for me, this is going to be really looking on the bright side. I think that we are definitely going to come out of this better people. I think that we're going to come out of this definitely more appreciative to the planet, you know, to the earth, to the things that we once took for granted. Because for us in Miami, we're very fortunate because we always have this beautiful sunshiny weather, but we're mostly at work. And now for the people in Miami, it's like torture because every single day it's been gorgeous. It has not rained once in like an entire month. And we're going to appreciate our weather more. We're going to appreciate our oceans more. We're going to appreciate, you know, the places, our favorite restaurants, you know, our favorite bartenders and servers, you know, the teachers. We're just going to have such a newfound appreciation for who we are as a human race and for the people around us, because you never really miss something until it's gone.
Absolutely. You know, what's a big one, I think too, that there's going to be a very big appreciation for is our teachers.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of moms and dads out there right now are really getting a taste of the love that goes, you know, into a teacher's work, the patience that goes into a teacher's work, the value of our teachers and what they do for our children for those 8 hours that, you know, that they take care of them and parent them and inspire them and motivate them and keep them focused and keep their attention and educate them and have them learn the things that they don't want to learn. No kid wants to learn to multiply and write and read and science and all this crap. No kid wants to do that. Every kid wants to run around. And so I feel like that's one job, because I feel like we've always appreciated doctors and nurses because, you know, they save us, they take care of us, you know, so it's a more direct appreciation. Not that what they're doing right now is not extra heroic, but, you know, we always kind of appreciate them in that way. We always appreciate our law enforcement and our firefighters, because listen, when you're in trouble, who do you call? You call 911, you know,
Right.
they're the ones that are going to come for you. But I feel like in this particular instance, I feel like our teachers have really, or not having our teachers has really shown moms and dads like, yo, I take care of your kids all day. Have fun.
Listen,
When
like
I
I
tell you
said,
your kid doesn't like to write, this is what I mean. So I feel like that's definitely another one that we're going to really appreciate.
listen, I'm really grateful that my kids are grown because my youngest son was constantly in trouble. And, you know, he was always like, my teacher is mean to me. And I was like, your teacher is dealing with 30 little fools just like you. Okay. And I only have to deal with you and I can't. So, you know, definitely I agree. I agree with that statement. So, but I want to thank you so much for joining me, for coming out.
Always.
I know that you are so busy, so I appreciate you taking the time to carve out and just kind of chit chat with me and our audience. So any last words, anything you want to leave us with? Oh, how can people find you? Yes, that's super important. How can I
Yes.
forgot that?
Oh, because you already found me and we're always
I
connected to each
know.
other. So
See?
it's easy to forget.
Look at me. I was
No
already
big
taking
deal.
Gigi for granted.
No, you never do. You never have. You can contact me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Everything is the same handle, GiGi Diaz Live. And the hub of all the things I do, GiGiDiaz.com. Everything is on there. So it's easy to find me, GiGi Diaz Live.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So perfect. Thank you so much, Mamita. I appreciate you so much. Check out Gigi. Again, she's amazing, always putting out spectacular content, always giving you guys great advice on seizing happy and marketing and all things entrepreneurship, because she is just an all-around badass. So definitely check her out and stay tuned for our next episodes. Thank you so much.